Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 6. It is Friday, the 18th of April, and we are recording live a little bit earlier than normal, obviously with Good Friday and an earlier game of a couple of early games on the Easter Good Friday. So looking forward to getting into some more footy action. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials, and joining me is my fellow co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guesty, mate. How are you? How did last night pan out for you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Look, I brought in Dacos this week, so pretty happy with his score. But yeah, I've got Will Ashcroft in my side as well, so that was a bit of pill to swallow.
Yeah, he was 41. That was just very, very uncharacteristic, and didn't see that come. But a very low-scoring game.
Look, I only watched bits and pieces of this game. Any idea why he scored so bloody bad?
I don't know.
The whole Brisbane team didn't score well. But...
Yeah, Brisbane were just awful, just in general. Taezer, I don't know if you can. We'll introduce our guest who jumped on earlier this season. Good friend of the show. We caught up with him in Gatherand. It is good old friend Taezer. Taezer, mate, how are you? But yeah, can you explain what happened to Will Ashcroft last night? Because certainly baffled me a little bit. Oh,
sorry, I cut out a little bit there.
Yep. Oh, good.
G'day, I'm back. Sorry about that. What was going on with the game? It was a funny old game. There was low tackles and the transition points were pretty low. So one of those funny games. Not much intercept marking going on, and really other than Dacos, no one really hit any big scores, did they?
Yeah, exactly. He was the only one, and you obviously when you retweeted the post about jumping on, obviously you were very much like me and didn't jump on Nick Dacos. I don't know about you, but I forgot how shit of an experience it is to watch Collingwood and not have Nick Dacos in my team. Do you agree?
Yeah, pretty wild not owning him. Unfortunately, I was having a good chat pre-match with AF Louis, and we were kind of talking about it, and we decided to hold our resolve with the fact that no one would be crazy enough to let Dacos just completely run free. And then Chris Fagan showed us all wrong.
Yeah, I know. That's the first half. It was everywhere. I was surprised he was only on like was it 65 or whatever it was at halftime. I thought he was on like 80 because he was just everywhere. And then the third quarter, I thought he was quiet. Then I look and he's on a ton already. So I'm just like, well, that was fantastic.
And Berry went to him in that third quarter as well.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But no, he was fantastic. And as you said, Taezer, besides him, I think Dunkley was next on like 97. Then like a heap of other sort of average scores. Levi Ashcroft got to 63. Everyone's got him. 63 is not awful, but obviously would have loved maybe 10, 15 points more. But Brisbane as a whole were just pretty bad. And even a Dane Zorko, who now that's 3 games in a row below the ton, another 70. So he's plummeting in price now. I think his break-in was up 140 odd. So non-owners are going to be certainly looking at him, but he's putting up these bad scores in this good run. And with Jasper Fletcher sort of make a bit more prominent there. So that's interesting. And then Ned Long.
Talk quickly about Jasper Fletcher. Yeah, let's talk about Jasper Fletcher and Ned Long, because these are people that people would be looking at.
Yeah, so Ned Long, 81, I thought was pretty solid. Had a quiet start. I think he was on sub 10 points, I believe, or just over at quarter time, and then got going. And Jasper Fletcher had one big third quarter, but outside of that, didn't really do too much. But that was, again, along with the whole Brisbane sort of side. So Taezer is either of these guys potentially still on the watch list for next week. Obviously, Ned Long, solid score. Jasper Fletcher, not so much, but still both fairly cheap.
I think they could suit certain sides. Not really with what I'm trying to do with mine. I'm really in that rookie up, rookie down kind of cadence. And unless I can't afford to get someone who I really like, I'm probably just going to keep going with that. But, I guess for some sides, if you need to maybe get down from a mid-pricer and you've got a bit of money left over and you think rather than holding on to that cash, it's better to keep that cash on your field with maybe downgrading to a Ned Long and then a smaller upgrade somewhere. You could do it. Ned Long I probably like a little bit more than Jasper Fletcher, but but they're both solid, but without being knockout picks. I don't think either have got the ceiling to really make them competition winning picks.
Yeah. I guess Ned Long's the one I'm probably keeping an eye on if I can't afford the upgrade next week. He's probably the one that I'd look to bring in. I think Jas Fletcher's going to be near 700k, and I don't think he's going to be a top 6, whereas Ned Long will be 600k roughly or just below, and I think he's still got a little bit of cash to make, so he's probably one I'm keeping an eye on. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the scores from last night. So I think a lot of us had Levi, all three of us had Levi Ashcroft. Tim obviously had Will Ashcroft and Dacos. Was that just Levi Ashcroft for you last night, Taezer?
Yeah, that's all I had at the moment.
Yeah, so we'll go into our trades and what we're looking at doing for round 6. What are you looking at doing with your trades, Taezer? Have you sort of settled on your 2 trades? You got maybe some other options? What are you looking at?
Yeah, look, I'm going to just go pretty much a classic downgrade upgrade. I had to hold over Nathan O'Driscoll from last week, so I'll bump him up to Nick Martin with a little bit of cash I had left over. And I am not messing around. I'm going straight C with Nick Martin. I've got the VC on Sheasel just in case he, pops a 130 or something like that. But I am pretty lucky that I don't have a lot of red dot options. And that means that the only red dot that I've got is actually a purple dot, and that's Harry Boyd. And unless he's just nowhere near the teams, I probably don't feel comfortable potentially looping with him in the forward line, and unless it's just a score that I can't refuse. Yeah,
well, we will chat about that in a sec as well, because we're going to get into captains. But yeah, that's definitely a talking point, particularly with Nick Dacos.
And I forgot to say my downgrade. I'm going Corey Warner to Caden Cleary at this stage.
Yeah, love it, mate. Like the Caden Cleary pick. Guesty, what are you looking to do with your moves this week? Obviously, Dacos was locked in last night, but what did you end up doing?
Yeah, so I had a lot of cash left over from last week. So SDK to Dacos was my first trade. And then I've actually got a bit of flexibility and choice about what I do with my second trade. I kind of looked at people like Connor Stone, Chad Warner, stuff like that. But the problem is that just doesn't leave me a lot of cash for next week. So I'm looking at either like a Sam Davidson or a Hugo Garcia. Also considered a Jackson Pryor, but it's playing the Eagles. Might score a rifle. They probably not spend a ton more cash. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of figure out of those 3 which would be the best to get rid of, and go to Caden Cleary, which will leave me, $250,000 cash for next week as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it, mate. My moves. There's a few options to go through this week, but I've currently settled on going Fraser down to Tom Gross. Can't quite get to Clear. I'm like 6k short of doing the ideal trades I want with Cleary. So I think I'll go Gross, and then going Sam Wicks up to Christian Petrarca. So I could go Dylan Moore and Caden Cleary, but I think I like Petrarca more as an upgrade. Happy to go with Gross, but I have considered going Dylan Moore and going for getting in Caden Cleary. So that's what I'm looking at doing. But we'll quickly go through captains, because obviously that's, I think, a big talking point. So I'll quickly whip through my top 10. If you guys want to check out the longer video version and get sort of more in-depth for the top 10, then check out the video from yesterday where I go through the top 10 and a few other options either just missed out or I wasn't keen on so far this week. But at number 1, that's number 2. Number 1, Zach Merritt against West Coast. Great matchup. His history against West Coast is pretty good as well, turned up in at least his last 5. And West Coast, great matchup. And I think Merritt is the number 1 player in terms of average for the season. And I think he'll go well. Got Andrew Brayshaw at 2, coming up against Melbourne, who are a great matchup for mid to pretty much anyone for that matter at the moment. And Brayshaw's gone 3 scores over 110 in a row, including the 123 last week. MCG, I think he can get a few extra marks as well in this game. So he's number 2. Noah Anderson at 3. He's got a very good history against Richmond. 3 scores over 125 in his last 4. And it is at Marvel. So that's the only reason he's down at 3 and not 2. If it was at People's First, he'd be at number 2. But I've got him at 3 in a good matchup. Had Dunkley at 4. Unfortunately, didn't go too great last night, 97, so you wouldn't be taking that. Harry Sheasel at 5 is up against Carlton, who are his favourite team to score against. Obviously, only 3 games in his career against them, but 134, 126, 119 against him in his career. I like him. Got Nick Martin Taezer, your boy, at 6, 93 and 119 against the Eagles last year. Obviously, slightly different role, but I could just see Nick Martin feasting on a matchup like this. And if he's playing forward, I could just see him going back for like last quarter and absolutely racking up. So he's number 6. Had Zorko at 7. I thought he'd bounce back against Collingwood at the Gabba, where he normally scores very well at. So, yeah, not great from him. Had Max Gawn at 8 against Freo. I think he'll run Sean Darcy ragged at the MCG. Darcy's still trying to get back to full fitness. So I think Gawn can back up the 118 with another good score. Had Nick Dacos at 9. I thought Brisbane would be a tough matchup, either with a tag or not. At the Gabba, but Dacos certainly proved that wrong, and I should have had him a lot higher than 9. And I got Jack McRae at 10 in a revenge game against the Dogs, and think he could go quite well. But Taezer, you obviously mentioned it about the going straight C on Nick Martin. A lot of people are going to be in this boat, right? So a lot of people have got like a Harry Boyd who's been named. They've got a lot of green dots. Obviously, there are some people that got a Camporelli, which perfect. You've had Dacos VC last night. You take it. You don't think about it, right? But for those people that have got a Harry Boyd as their only loop, and you've got obviously TDK and Cherry, for example, who are both playing the first game today, but even still, even if you're waiting for like a Boyd, if he's emergency, Marshall's looked tired and looked a bit battered last couple of weeks. Wouldn't shock me if Boyd got named. Where would you be looking at, particularly for those that got the VC on a Nick Dacos? Are you bringing in a red dot like a Smiley or a Bo Allen who we expect to play at some point? What are you doing? Because 131 is obviously a pretty good score that you'd be looking at taking. What would you be doing if you had a Nick Dacos VC and you couldn't, and you didn't have a red dot?
If I had TDK and Chris and Cherry as my rucks, and my only red dot, so to speak, was Harry Boyd, I probably wouldn't take it because you're not going to know teams until after the game. So you could lock in Christian Cherry on your bench and then find out that Harry Boyd gets named. So it's a great score, but maybe the 10, 15 points that you're going to get as a 130 over potentially, the difference between a TDK or a Christian Cherry and what Harry Boyd could do. I just don't think that's really worth it. Although Tristan Cherry, isn't doing a lot at the moment. If you maybe have Gawn or someone else's in your ruck lineup, I don't mind putting the VC, and that's where I'm sitting. So I'm going to put my VC on Harry Sheasel, and then teams will drop after the match, and then I'll have a little bit of time before the West Coast game starts where I can decide, okay, is the score good enough? Am I happy with Harry Boyd, being far enough away from the team, maybe the number of talls that are in the St Kilda lineup to feel comfortable that I'm, not risking it too much.
Yeah. Would you trade in a red dot?
No, but I wouldn't do that at any point. That's my philosophy. Even in round 1, I had TDK as my captain, and I chose to go with Harry Boyd over a red dot. And now I probably wish that I had have, but at the time, my philosophy is just green dots, generate the cash.
Yeah, and this is the fear I had with Harry Boyd, unfortunately, is I didn't think he'd only play one game. I thought he played 2 or 3, but I just had a feeling that if I was going to go red dot, wouldn't have been him because he's always emergency. He's always going to be cover for Ryan Marshall. So it's frustrating and a bit of a pickle that everyone's in. Tim, have you got a red dot that you can take Nick Dacos's VC score? And if you didn't, would you trade in a red dot?
I'm not going to trade in a red dot. No way. So I've got Harry Boyd, and I've got in the rucks, I've got De Koning and Gorney. So yeah, I'm obviously waiting for teams to see what that looks like. But yeah, I've also got Andrew Brayshaw, so I could just roll in an Andrew Brayshaw and use him as my captain. But I was also trying to figure out what maybe I can do with maybe like a Jack McRae or something along those lines as well. So
revenge game.
Yeah. Look, it's not ideal. I wouldn't really want to sit the captain on him, but if it's, take the VC or take Jack McRae, and they're the two choices, then I'm more than happy to roll with Jack McRae and see what happens.
Yeah.
What do you?
I just want to. Oh, sorry. I just want to add the reason I'm probably even more cautious than usual is just how sore Rowan Marshall looked. Like he actually went off the ground for treatment last week. He just does not look 100%, and I would not be surprised to see Boyd named, even if it's just like round one to give him a bit of a chop out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was the other thing I'd not trying to say I'm Nostradamus or anything like that, not flagging all these things and getting everything right. But I was saying that was the only flag, unfortunately, with Marshall is that he's like, he had a couple of good games, but with no preseason, we do see it catch up to players. We saw it with Walsh a couple of years ago. We saw it with Oliver last year. I know the Oliver thing was different, but the preseason just so important. That's why we pick all these players at the start of the year that have had full preseason. So if anyone's going to turn it around, it's going to be Marshall. We've seen it before. We've seen him go 60-60 and then go bang and go 140. So that I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, particularly against English. But I wouldn't be shocked as well if a Harry Boyd is named in the squad this week to give him a little bit of a chop out. So, Tim, you said you're looking at Andrew Brayshaw as your backup captain, if that's the case. Yeah, and that's what I'll be looking at doing as well at the moment.
I've got safe.
I've only really got Angus Hasty as the other option that could be dropped, but I actually thought he was quite solid in the last quarter. So whether I don't know if he'll get dropped or not. But Ari Showmaker has been named on field for St Kilda, so he's clearly coming into the side. So that'll be interesting to see. But if Hasty isn't named, then I do have a red dot. But if not, I'm a bit nervous about locking into a Boyd when he is named in the squad, and we don't know if he'll be named or not. So. Yep, looking at doing that. So let's get stuck in a heap of your questions, answering all those ahead of the Good Friday game. So we'll obviously get the subs in that, I think, in about 3 minutes' time. So I'll be keeping an eye on that to see when Jordox or Eloise post that, and we'll let you guys know what's happening with those so far. So, yeah, and make sure you do smash like on the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. That would be fantastic. Takes 2 seconds, 2 clicks. Click a like and click subscribe if you haven't already. And that we've very much appreciated. So Sean has got, so literally we're just answering that about is it too risky to put the C on Boyd for Dacos as have both Cherry, TDK play before 5 p.m. teams. So we said, yes, it probably is. We wouldn't be doing that. Probably a little bit risky. And a lot of people saying they're in this boat as well. Jim at 910 Taezer says he's going 1 up, 1 down to Tom Stewart and a 230k rookie, or double downgrade Warner and Pryor, leaving 377k in the bank. What do you think about Tom Stewart as an option? Doesn't play till Monday, so we don't get those teams until Sunday. What are your thoughts about bringing him in?
I like Tom Stewart. He's on my radar, but considering he's already been laid out twice now in 3 weeks, I would not feel comfortable with him with basically getting stuck on a Saturday. On a Monday rather, with him as my only option. So maybe if you can afford to pivot to someone like Sicily, or if you have a plan B, maybe you can use DPP somehow to get Dylan Moore in by making the trade using your utility. So leave him in utility until the last moment. I'd probably be okay with that, but otherwise, it's a big. But I like the player, and he's on my watch list for next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the fact that you're going Stewart and a 230k rook, I don't love that, because you're bringing in someone that hasn't played yet. I don't even know if there is anyone that you'd be comfortable doing. I don't even think there is.
Questions: who are you bringing in?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the worst player you want to be bringing in is someone like a Sardell Hawley or a Matt Carroll, who are in the 260s. So if you can get it to one of those, I don't hate it. But this is the case where I don't mind a double downgrade, where you can't get the upgrade you want and get a decent rookie on the other end. So you're like, well, double downgrade, have cash for next week, and you may even be able to do a bit of a double upgrade potentially. Maybe go Ned Long up from a rookie and then go another premium potentially. So, yeah, I'd probably be looking at double downgrade there, Jim. Red Lighting, Tim says, I don't know what to do with my second trade. Nevitt to Gross is locked in, and it's either going Ed Richards to Zach Merritt or Murphy Reid to Petrarca or Rankin. So actually interesting to see what's Ed Richards been doing. That's probably a good point before we sort of answer the question. So Ed Richards, obviously with Bont back this week, he's averaged 90. So he's gone 89, 83, 92 in his last 3. So he's actually gone over 89 in 4 or 5 games. The only other one was an 83. Is it worth going him up to a Zach Merritt, Tim, or are you rather than going a sort of maxed out rookie to Murphy Reid up to a Petrarca or a Rankin?
Yeah, so look, three good options that he's looking at here. Look, I think Zach Merritt, obviously highest averaging player in the comp at the moment. He's got an unbelievable run for inside mids. So when I was looking at that, I think it's like 2 games after his bye. So it's like not until round 18 or something like that he hits his first difficult matchup when it comes to inside mids. So great run, but I guess the only thing that I'd be concerned about is paying up. I think you do want to be trying to find some value in these players, particularly at this point in the season. We're not even, we're like basically a quarter of the way through the season, so there's still a long way to go. And we might start to find that the rookies start to dry up pretty soon as well. So, look, I think it's a great option, but I'm just concerned about paying up. The other option was, Rankin and Petrarca. So the thing that I'd say about
Murphy
Rankin...
I wouldn't get Rankin this week.
Yeah. So Rankin, a bit of a carb concern. Obviously, you played through the game last week and got better as the game went on as well. But look, just a little bit of a flag with that. And then I think the other thing is that we're a bit concerned about... They're playing GWS this week, aren't they? Is it Bedford?
Yes. Kingsley pretty much said that they're going to be putting some attention into Dawson or Rankin. It sounded more like Dawson was the first name sort of off the lips, but I still feel like Bedford matches up better with Rankin, but I wouldn't target either. And Petrarca, we've talked about, has got Freo, Richmond, West Coast. So, you don't get too much of a better run. Obviously, Freo are decent, but then the other two are as good as it gets. So, and you're upgrading a rookie. You're going Murphy Reid up to Petrarca, Rankin. It's either benching another rookie, or if Murphy Reid's on your field, then you're upgrading a 40s, 50s rookie to a top 6 forward. So, and Ed Richards is averaging 90, right? So, it's not awful. He's still going okay. You can upgrade him at any point, and he's not really a necessity of a trade because he's going along pretty well. So I'd agree with that. We just got AFL subs and late changes. So no late changes in the game. Zane Dersma and Cooper Lord are the subs. So no late Pitney if anyone was worried about that. And the Big X is still in and still hopefully will put up a good score. We did hear Drew Jones actually say, I believe it was yesterday, day before, that Tristan Sherry previous weeks had been just training in runners and not training in the main group, had been doing work on the side, but apparently participated in the captain's run, had the boots on and sounded like he participated a bit more than what we've seen from him. So hopefully, fingers crossed for all of us Cherry owners. I know Taezer's probably sitting there going, I'm looking at him as an upgrade type potentially in a few weeks because I know he doesn't have him, but and Tim doesn't have him either, so I'm the only owner. So but hopefully the Big X. I got a feeling today. I reckon he's going to go well. I reckon he's going to put up a good score. We saw the tackles were a little bit back last week with 6. Low game time, but I think this game will be a bit closer. He's only really rested when the game's been completely out of hand, and if North are there, he could play a bit more, and it's a better matchup as well against TDK compared to some of these other ones. So I think we might hopefully see a ton for Big X today. Fast break frenzy ranks Sardell, Hawley, Gross, and Cleary. I think we went through this on Tuesday, and I don't know if it's changed, but are we all in agreement that it's Cleary, Gross, then Sardell, Hawley, Taezer? Is that the order you'd have it in?
Exactly. Yep. I think El Hawley, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's sub again.
Agreed. I've looked at the bench.
He's been good when he's been on, but he kind of, he's going for that wing role, and they're pretty well stocked in the wing role. I don't see them moving away from Dersma. Nick Martin has a bit of versatility, so he can play wing, he can play forward, he can play behind the ball. But Archie Roberts is the other one.
Right. Well.
They even like having Harry Jones leading up onto the wing. So if they bring someone like Peter Wright into the forward line, there's a possibility that Harry Jones plays more on the wing.
Yeah. I think it's either him or Hobbs that gets the sub, and I think Hobbs, I don't think he'll get it because he's playing midfield. Essendon down a couple of those mids, so I think that he'll play. So, there's a chance he's subbing. Cleary and Grosser, I think if you can get Cleary, he's the one you get. Lower break even, shown a higher scoring pedigree. But like me, if you can't quite get to him, I don't mind a Tom Gross if you've sort of got to grab him there as well.
Yeah, agree.
A lot of people are saying that a few people saying that they'd go Cleary, Gross, and Sardell, Hawley. And I think that's the case. Connor Craig, can't believe I didn't trade in Dacos. Mate, me and Taezer are right with you, mate. We can't believe we didn't do it either. But the end to get Sardell, Hawley and trade Davidson over Wicks to get Dacos done. I didn't think that was quite worth it. Looking at the 131 now, if someone said I would have got that, I may have just pulled the trigger and done that. So Andrew Griffiths went Robertson prior to Gross and Dacos and the VC and was must have. Don't get why people are against 3 defender rooks. Yeah, well, that's a good question, Taezer. To you. What are your thoughts on the 3 defender rooks there. I'm still probably in favour. I like the 2 a bit more in case something goes wrong, you've got a bit to fix up. But what do you feel about maybe if you've got some DPP, if you've got a Max Holmes or a Nasai Wanganeen Miller, sorry, not Nasai, Jack Sinclair with mid status, would you be in favour of putting them into the mids and playing 3 defender rookies?
That's exactly what I've done. So part of the reason I like Nick Martin as my trade is because it opened up the DPP versatility of the players. So I can put Finn O'Sullivan into my backline. I can push Sheasel and Sinclair, who are my D1 and 2. I can push them into my midfield. And because I like Trainer and Zach Reed and Bice more than I like Moraes and Harvey Langford and some of the players that I've got in the midfield. So I like it as long as you retain the ability to change it, because I like this week's matchups. I don't think it's going to be a great idea long term to play 3 defender rookies, especially with, like, I've got Jackson Pryor and Finn O'Sullivan on the bench. So, if one of those guys, and I thought last week watching Trainer in person that he could be rested this week. Like, he looked sore. I think he copped a bit of a corky from a collision. I was sitting with Jepper and we were watching him. We went, oh, he could get rested next week. And then he went on to score, I think, 60 more points and score a 90. So he definitely is good. But, he's, 18? He'd get a rest any week now. So having a bit of cover or the ability to kind of flick him around is really important.
Yeah, I'd agree. If you can do the flexibility, put it on this week, but I wouldn't be locking into 3 defender rookies either. I think
so
2.
Just a flag here, boys. What about? I'm just a bit concerned about also Noah Bolter's impact on Luke Trainer as well.
That's another good flag as well. If to see, I guess, obviously different roles, but it'd be good to see what that sort of the flow on effect of that is. So that'd be good to watch. If you had to pick one, Tim, and I'll go Taezer as well. So Tim, if you had to pick one between, so obviously Bice is not question, he's on the field, but if you had to pick one of Zach Reed or Luke Trainer, which some people might be faced with this week, where would you be going? Is it Reed against the Eagles, or is it Trainer against the Suns?
Yeah, I think I'd be backing Reed against the Eagles. I wonder whether he might get a bit of that ball down that back, that kind of chippy sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably agree with that as well. Yeah, I'd go that one.
Yeah, I'd go Zach Reed as well on field, which is the decision I've got, and that is what I'm doing as well. So that's what I'm looking at. Lucas Paverdi, is Will Ashcroft to hold after his 41? I don't think he is, to be honest. He doesn't have the role that we probably started him for. He didn't get forward status, which is maybe what some people hoped he would have got. And he has had a lot of those easy matchups past. He's still got a few more to go, but 41 is unacceptable. You can't be having a guy priced well over 800k putting up a 41 unless there was a really good reason for it, and there really wasn't. So I think he would be a guy that I'd be happy to upgrade to next week. Michael Bork says
anything on that. Hang on. So just I'm an owner, right? So I'm not jumping too quick. Like, I think, I think Collingwood really kind of well, obviously they belted Brisbane, but none of the Brisbane players did well. And prior to that, he's done 101, 105, 115, and 90, right? So look, it's a bad score and it sucks, but I'm not going to be instantly looking to trade him out next week. I think I'll be holding it 1 week before I to see if there's any kind of prolonged impact on his role or scoring before jumping off. I mean, I imagine other people got bigger problems as well. Like, I've got a Hugo Garcia. Like, we're not sure how Sam Davidson's going to go. A lot of people might still be playing him on field.
And then with Davidson, just to flag with Davidson, he's got Gio West at Monica next week, and then he's got Port Adelaide and Ballarat in his next 2 games, which both sound awful. So unless he puts a big one to that this week, I think he's probably one that I'd be looking strongly at trading as well, because he's made a lot of cash.
And not a good matchup for wingers this week either.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a feeling about Sam Davidson this week. This is the sort of match I feel like, and I think you're great for wingers, but it's got a feeling this is a Davidson type game where a lot of switching could get involved in it and put up a ceiling score to make a bit more cash. But unless he does that, he could be a trade out next week there. And yeah, I agree with Will Ashcroft. You've got other issues, definitely trade them. But if going a rookie down, you don't have another mid price to go up to an upgrade, I feel like Ashcroft to like a day cost next week or something like that could potentially be a play for some people. Michael Bork saying here,
season, by the way,
hey,
that's the season we're in. Like, we should be just trying rookies up and down because, Ashcroft really kind of had a poor game and got a 41. We've got rookies who, all they're getting is 41s. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So try and get these rookies off the field. I do agree with that there. Michael Bork saying he reckons Tom Sparrow is going to go to Andrew Brayshaw. Well, Taezer, you're the Freo man. What are your thoughts? I think he's going straight to Cabs wrong, if I'm being perfectly honest. But what are your thoughts?
I would be so shocked if any team went to any mid other than Caleb Sarog in Freo's lineup. He is by far our most effective and damaging player. And yeah, that's why I've got Andrew Brayshaw on the team, because I just can't see why anyone wouldn't tag him. They might run 2 tags. That's always possible. They could give Viney a more defensive job to try and match Sarong, and then send Tom Sparrow to try and pick up Brayshaw in transition. But I'm not really that concerned. He doesn't have that much damage. Like, you'd probably even send someone to Hayden Young before, because Young might only get 20 disposals, but he's probably going to get 15 of them kicks that go, inside 50 or right outside. So, yeah.
Yeah, agreed with that one. Tim Ashworth's got a super chat. Thank you very much, mate. He's saying he's gone Hall to Cleary, and then Callahan to Dacos with the VC on him. So, yeah, no, tick for me, Tim. Love those trades, mate. And, you'd be very happy with that Dacos VC there. Hopefully you got a red dot to be able to take it, and if not, maybe just got to roll the C on someone else there. Eliza's saying I'm too chicken to use Boyd as a loop. Who to straight C, Merritt or Brayshaw? For me, that would be Zach Merritt against the Eagles, I think. Taezer, would you be agreeing with that?
Yeah, I can't see anyone running a real hard tag on him, and even if they did, he'd probably break it and find a way to kick a couple goals. I think they're going to be pretty dominant tonight. Yeah,
I remember bringing Zach Merritt in last year against the Eagles, and I think it was a Ruben Jinby went to in that game, but eventually Zach Merritt still got a 109 and ran over the top, but obviously Jimmy's not playing mid anymore, so I think he'll be fine. So I'd be going Merritt straight captain if you've got to back someone in, because I guess there is that slight flag that Sparrow goes a Brayshaw, but I don't think that'll happen anyway. But still, Merritt I'd be going with there. Jack, is Zorko a trade out? No, Zorko's not a trade out. He's been poor, but at the end of the day, the way that I look at these prems, if I'm going to trade him out or not, is would non-owners be looking at bringing them in a week or two? And I'd say yes. Zorko's drawing in price, so you're not trading him. He's been poor, but he'll get back to doing Zorko things very, very soon. Dylan Weimer says, Tim, he went SDK to Josh Dacos last night. What did you think of that move? Would you have ticked that off with Josh Dacos getting defender status? I'm just trying to see. I don't even know what he scored last night, to be honest. But what would you think of that move?
Yeah, I would. I mean, look,
95 touches.
I wasn't sure what he scored either. But look, it's not a player that I've really been looking at. I can't see the value quite yet in the defensive line that I'm hoping for. I did kind of have a little look at Jasper Fletcher this week for this reason. I do know that Jep's been pretty big on Josh Dacos. Thinks he's going to be pretty close to that kind of top 6 defenders. So, look, I trust Jep's view of things. So if he thinks he's good, then I'd back him. And then obviously the way he scored last night kind of supports that it was a good trade in as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and also Houston hasn't played the last couple of weeks either, so that'll be a good watch to see when Houston's back. But I don't mind it. But whether he's a top 6 defender or not, that's the question. She's bringing him in to be that. But they do come to a better run now. Collingwood.
Mills away? Do we know what's on the injury list? What is
1 to 2 weeks, I believe. I think it was 1 to 2 weeks when I saw it. But then again, when we saw it was 1 to 2 weeks a few weeks ago, that was when he injured again. So we'll see if he comes back. But he's obviously a bit of a target after a week of seeing him play.
The only thing I'd say with Josh Dacos is I think he's priced around what he's going to do. So I probably wouldn't look at him. He's priced at 911. So
it's not too bad.
Like actually. He's just fairly priced. He's not cheap and he's not overpriced, but he's priced about what he can do. Yeah. So I mean, if you compare it with Tom Stewart, who because of the injuries, if you want to buy into a bit of Geelong shithousery.
Well, you're signing up for it. You're signing up for Geelong, and also you're signing up for a massive roller coaster. As me and Tim have started, we know exactly how that's gone. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think there are players that are cheaper that can offer similar, or you go up a little bit, or even just wait a little bit, like upgrade a different line if you can using DPP, and jump on some of the value. I mean, just for a comparison, Christian Petracca is 40,000 less. And I would feel more comfortable with Christian Petracca being closer to the top of the line.
Yeah. Even Dillamore, you can even say make up for Dillamore as well. He's priced at 100, yeah, exactly 120 odd K cheaper, and you could say he's closer. So, yeah, good point. I'm looking at my boy Laddie as well, who's not that far away. I'm looking at Ladd probably in about 3 or 4 weeks when the run opens up. So, one of those two potentially could be options as defenders if you can't quite get to the $1 million mark there. We got a super chat from Jack Main. So appreciate this, mate. Put up on the screen here. He's saying, what do you think of prior to Sardell Hawley and Farrell to Nasiah, or should I focus on getting rid of rookies like Campo, Finn, O'Sullivan, Kako, Stone, and Lindsay? So, well, Jack, the one question I'd have for you there is who you'd be like if you're going prior to El Hawley, are you bringing in another rookie as a double downgrade, or are you like upgrading to someone? That would probably be my question. But if it's just double downgrading, Taezer, would you double downgrade, I guess, a stalled rookie or a red dot, or would you prefer to trade in that case, go Farrell up to a guy like a Nasiah?
Well, yeah, Farrell's been a weird one because you'd think he has that avenue to score. I know Jeppa has Kane Farrell and is really disappointed with him. Yeah, if you've only got Campo as your red dot, but you've got Finn O'Sullivan, I think is okay, especially with his defensive DPP. Kako, I've got a feeling Kako's going to kick a bag tonight, so I don't think you have to get off him
this week.
Yeah, Stone isn't earning any money, so look, I don't mind going someone like El Hawley prior to El Hawley, and then Stone to Caden Cleary, if those are the rookies that you don't have, and then cashing yourself up, but giving Farrell another week, but. Yeah, I can see why getting off the Farrell ride is pretty appealing. He's been pretty poor. Sorry, I can't. I'm sitting on the fence a little bit. I don't hate the trade or the targets, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably pull the pin. I'd probably do Farrell on the side, to be honest, because like you're upgrading your side. You're getting guys to top 6. Connor Rosie's back in defence for Port as well. So there's a couple of things there. Sydney at the SCG obviously isn't a great matchup either. And I think I'm just having a look here at Nasiah's run. So he's obviously gone just past Port and the Giants, who are tricky. Then he goes Bulldogs, Brisbane, Freo, Carlton, West Coast, Gold Coast. So, and then he's got Melbourne, then the bye. But the thing with that is he's only got 2 games up until the bye now that are outside of Melbourne, and only 3 of them are outside of Marvel Stadium, which is obviously a tick. So he goes Marvel, MCG against Carlton, Optus against West Coast, Marvel, and then Melbourne at TIO Traeger Park. So that's not up in Darwin, that's Alice Springs for obviously both of them have got TIO. So, and that'll be during the day as well. So obviously be hot, but it won't be as slippery, I don't think, as what we have seen in Darwin games in the past. So I think the run's looking pretty good for Nasiah, and I'd be happy to do it. Yeah, Taezer?
Yeah, I don't dislike Nasiah as a player. Like, I think he's very good. The one little strategy component that I would probably add is that Nasiah Wanganamilla is pretty highly owned in the top 1,000. So if you're trying to break into the top 1,000, you're trying to climb the rank, he's maybe not going to be the best player to do it with because he's fairly highly owned. So that's just a little component. Like, if you can get someone who's slightly higher, slightly lower owned, so maybe someone like a Sinclair.
I was going to say, I'm assuming they don't have Nick Martin. Go get Nick Martin. Save yourself what is it? Like 30K? Does that maybe get your Tom Gross instead of Sardell Hawley? I'd rather that or a Caden Clear or something like that. If you could do that, you got Sam Flanders as well, who's getting a bit cheap. He's got Richmond, bit of a pod, maybe something like that. Is that probably you'd be going down somewhere like there, Taezer? Oh, I think Taser's frozen. So, but yeah, that is what we'd be saying there for your question, Jack. Hopefully, we'll get Taser back soon because it's frozen at the moment. Oh no, now he's back. You there, Taser? Oh, no, it froze for a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I don't know. My internet's usually good, but something's going on.
Yeah, no, all good, mate. All good. You've just taken the place of Jordox for tonight because Jordox's internet, as he knows, can sometimes be very up and down. I actually forgot to say on a pod recently as well that obviously the Facebook group that people join, people put the answers in and they go like sort of, they're going to answer who's your favorite player, what team you support, and then name 3 guests on the podcast. And then some put in like the favorite player, favorite team, and then they put in for guest guy with no Wi-Fi, which I thought was quite funny, and I knew exactly who he was referring to. So yeah, sure. That's funny. What do we got? Lobo the Pro. Do I get in Sard or Hawley this week or Gross? I've got 120k for next week if I go Sard, but less if I go Gross. I would be getting Tom Gross if you can get to him. Obviously, if you've already got Cleary, then that's where I'd be going if you don't have Cleary. But if you can get Tom Gross, would you be taking the haircut there, Taser, if it meant less cash, but you get Gross in instead?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I would be doing that as well. I'd agree. What do we got here? Keep smashing actually, there's a heap of questions here. So keep putting these questions through, guys. Very much appreciate it there. And if you want to re-put your question, just chuck it down the bottom again and we'll keep answering these as we go through. Kados says, Nick Martin or Max Holmes? I would be going Nick Martin out of the two. Taze, would you agree?
Yeah, Nick Martin. Yep.
Yeah, cool. I'd be doing that as well. So let's have a look here. Hang on. Oh, good. Just replying to your message there, Taser. Cool. Jack says, Crystal Ball, who will be the top 2 primo trade targets next week? So probably say Dacos would have to be one. And it could be maybe someone like a Nick Martin next week, potentially. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Well, for me, it's probably Petrarca is going to be right in the front of the queue. Yep. But I'd also be looking at maybe like Tom Green. I still think he's right up there as a trading target. And potentially maybe some people might have been going towards him rather than Nick Dacos this week.
Yeah. What have we got here? Jerry Davis. Which two, or Davies, sorry. Davis is what the English say for when it's spelled Davies. Jerry Davies. Which two to field out of Lindsay, Davidson, and Cleary? Taser, what do you reckon here? Lindsay against Freo, Davidson against the Saints, and Cleary against Port.
I'm backing in Lindsay just with his ceiling. I think Freo will probably let him take some marks in the back line. So I've got Lindsay on field and I'm backing in Davidson under the lid against the Saints. I know Saints aren't a great matchup for wingers, but I think that might be skewed slightly by some of the matchups that they've had and playing at Norwood. So I'm backing in Davidson. I just think Cleary against Port could be a tough matchup. And he's probably not going to get the wing time with McInerney back, so he'll be playing as that high half forward. He could be playing a bit more deeper as well, and just no one really scores well on Port, unfortunately.
Yeah, hey, exactly right.
Similar kind of question, and Bales, I'll ask you as well, that we've kind of discussed a little bit. So in terms of, so this is for my team, right? In terms of my bringing Cleary, I could trade out a Davidson, a Pryor, or a Hugo Garcia. How would you rank the trade out targets or the trade outs?
I like being able to hold Pryor for a couple of weeks. He's got some easier matchups, so I don't feel the urgency to jump off him. Sure. I think you're going to want to jump off Davidson sooner. So I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm saying that Davidson is fieldable this week, but I think I've earmarked him next week. I don't care if he scores really well. I'm probably going to trade him next week unless he does something like it, goes another 125, which he did.
Yeah.
I'll probably hold him because his break even will be low enough that he I can hold him. But I think is it GWS at Monaca and then Port at Mars.
Ballarat,
those are tough games.
Yeah.
I don't really want a winger playing against either of those teams. At Mars, I've been out to Mars and it's just windy as all hell and swirly and the ball won't land to him; it'll land out in the stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd agree. Tim, I was chatting to you with this on the phone last night, and originally I was on the Davidson holding, but I think that with those looking at the matchups ahead, when I was looking at potential trade, that's like just looking ahead of next week, he would be one I'd be looking at. So if you can get a week ahead, trade him out. Okay, he might go a bigger score this week, but if you jump off of him and he just gets a 60 or a 70, then it doesn't matter. And he's got two incredibly tough matchups, not only opponent, but also ground. I'd probably be looking at him. Don't mind trading Garcia as well, but Davidson probably could go. Gives you a little bit more cash as well, I think.
There's one more factor that I've got, and it's the reason I'm deciding to trade off Corey Warner instead of I could go early on Finn O'Sullivan and those kind of ones. It's because they're playing on the Sunday, you get to see a lot of the subs beforehand. So if at any point, if for example today Finn O'Sullivan had been a sub, you can jump off him.
Thanks, boys. Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the Sydney bench as well. So obviously it'll be trimmed. So let's just say Patton, maybe Francis and Laddams get trimmed. They've got Bias, Cleary, Florent, Sheldrick, Hanley. It's Cleary. I'm not saying Cleary's going to be the sub, but when Mills comes back and when another one or two come back, Cleary might be edging towards the sub. So that's just a bit of a flag there for Cleary, but probably not an issue for another couple of weeks. So that was just something I was having a look at there with that bench because it's starting to get pretty strong there with a few Sydney guys starting to make their way back. Best primo defender to get, says Woo Gaming. Tim, what do you reckon? I don't mind Nick Martin, who's now got forward status if you want to get a primo defender, but any other primo defenders you like this week?
No, the pick him at the bunch for me is Nick Martin.
Yeah, particularly with those great matchups, flexibility, like you can put him in your forward line later on and
never going to get a tag, so yeah, look, there's just a lot I like about him.
Yep, exactly. What do we got here? Next one is Sean says, would you trade Sanders and hold Nod for another week to get the Dacos VC score? Would be fielding Lindsay though. So Taezer, what do you think about this? Would you hold Nod for a week to get the Dacos VC score and trade Sanders, field Lindsay, or would you prefer to trade Nod, hold Sanders, and just get another captain? Oh, hang on, I think he's frozen.
Sorry about that, guys. My internet just dropped out.
Yep. Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. Sorry. I reckon you probably could, especially if there's a way that you could loop Lindsay somehow using Nod. So if you could field him in the emergency with a backup and then see what he scores, I'd be tempted to do that.
Yeah, I would be as well, because it's not like you're trading a bad play. You're getting rid of Sanders, who, yes, he's gone well the last couple of weeks, but Bont's back, and he's probably got a little bit lucky with a few of those marks that he's got last few weeks. When I traded him, I thought, well, he's had one big quarter in every game I think he's played this year. He's always had like a 30-odd point quarter. If he's not having that, he's probably scoring a 50 or a 60. I still got that feeling that's going to be coming at some point. So, yeah, I'd be happy enough to trade Sanders. And if it gets you Dacos VC, Lindsay fielding, that'd be fine. And you keep Nod for a week there. So that isn't bad there. Brisbane Bloods, thoughts on trading Powell and Wicks? Well, Wicks could definitely go. But, Tim, what are your thoughts on trading a Tom Powell who, besides that round one game, hasn't turned up since then and has certainly slowed down, and George Wardlaw's back today?
Yeah, look, I'm wondering whether someone's I know he hasn't performed that great over the last couple of weeks, but once again, I just, is he really your biggest problem? It's not normally the kind of player that I'd be looking to trade out this time of year unless they're really, really going badly. So, And then the other, I mean, I'm wondering whether maybe they're getting a bit reactive to Wardlaw coming in as well, which, I don't know that Wardlaw is going to push Powell out of those CBAs. So, yeah, look, I'd be happy to hold and look at what else you've got in your side that you could be upgrading or doing there.
Yeah, I'd hold him probably this week and see how he fits in with Wardlaw. And if he takes a dip, then he's a pretty clear trade next week.
Yeah, I would agree. Even though I didn't hear it because I was out. I had to. Being sick, you got to dip out mid-pod and clear up the nostrils. So we've got about 10 minutes to go before we stop. And couldn't last the 10 minutes, unfortunately. Connor...
Thanks for that visual, Bales. Appreciate it.
All good. Anyway, Connor van der Ploeg says, which option should he go for? So I'll go to Taezer because I know Tim doesn't like the multiple combo ones, too many names to go through the head. So option one, actually, I'll pop this one on the screen because there's multiple options here to help you, Taezer. So option one, Fraser and Wicks to Cleary and Gross. So a bit of a double cash grab there. Option two, Fraser and Davidson to El Hawley and Holmes. Or three, Fraser and Wicks to Petrarca and Sard El Hawley.
I think I'm going to Petrarca and El Hawley from those two.
Yeah. I would probably...
Option three.
If you could amend that, Connor, and Taezer, I'd be interested to get your thoughts. Would you go Fraser and Davidson to Petrarca and Cleary? Because you'd be able to afford that if you do sort of that switch, I'd imagine. You'd be right there, or maybe even Tom Gross. But would you rather trade Davidson if it gets you a Gross or a Cleary?
Depends if I have to play Wicks on field. I think against Port, that's going to be a tough matchup. If you can hide him away on your bench.
You're probably playing Cleary on field, I'd imagine, if that's the case.
Yeah, probably. Actually, I'd probably play Cleary on bench over Wicks. So
you mean on field?
Yeah, I don't mind that actually.
Yep. Yeah, I'd look at doing that, Connor, and that's something I have toyed with as well. But because I can get Gross, I'm probably still looking at that. But I could go Davidson to Cleary and just trade Davidson now and keep Wicks for another week. So that's something I've contemplated a little bit there as well. But Connor, that's what we do, mate. But thanks for sending through the question there. We'll go a few more. We've got about sort of 7 or 8 minutes to go because we'll let people have about 20 or so minutes to play around with their teams and everything like that. Dill Jonesy, who would you prefer to captain out of Brayshaw and Zach Merritt? So we answered that a little bit before someone asked that, and we said we'd be going Zach Merritt with the West Coast matchup this week. CDZ says, got some cash in the bank. Should I go the traditional one up, one down? Example being SDK and Pryor to Nick Martin and Tom Gross, or two up, example being SDK and Sanders to Nick Martin and Sarong. So, Tim, where would you be going there? Are you going SDK and Pryor to like a Nick Martin and a Gross, so traditional one up, one down, or are you going an SDK and Sanders to Nick Martin and Caleb Sarong?
I mean, how much cash has this guy got? Obviously a lot, but
must be a fair bit.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be doing the second one, like you two mid prices, two failed picks. I mean, I know that Sanders has been scoring well over the last couple of weeks, but I think really people kind of got away with that. But if you can bring in a Sarong, great. Although, maybe there are some other options you might be looking at in that price range, just because Sarong's going to be that number one tag target.
Yeah, Sarong's $9.90. So if you could have got up to a day cost last night, that would have been a great trade. I think it's like 11K or 20K or something there, and you've got a few of those other guys that people are looking at, like your Brayshaws, your Tom Greens, your Sam Welsh's a little bit more. If you could get up to one of those, but yeah, don't mind Sarong as a trade in. There. I've said it for a few weeks as well. I still don't mind Tim Taranto, which I know Taezer Jepper was telling us don't touch Tim Taranto when we're having dinner on Sunday night, but I don't mind Taranto as a potential option. But I think I'd still rather Petrarca if I'm tossing up between the two, which is what I'm doing. Alex saying, could non-loopers bring in Josh Smiley this week, playing VFL, but his debut is imminent, one of the best rookies in the draft class. So, Taezer, could Josh Smiley be a potential red dot you bring in? I'd imagine that this is for people that have got like a Nick Dacos VC. Could Josh Smiley be a red dot, or are you still wanting to only bring him in when he's named?
I think of the red dots, he's probably the best one. He's the one that, like, when he's named, the week he's named, I will go in probably like unsighted and just get him. because I think Richmond will play him and I know he can score. The only thing is he's had reoccurring hammy injuries. So like you'd be pretty annoyed if you brought him in and he did his hammy again before you even got to kind of field him. So, you know, I've kind of already said my philosophy is not to do it, but if you're going to do it and you feel really strongly that you have to get that Dacos to score and you don't trust your other captain options, then Smiley is probably the one I'd do it with.
Yeah, I'd agree. But yeah, it's like we even saw this with Bo Allen, right? Round 1, a few people had a big VC score. Bo Allen only missed with illness, so like he's going to be named round 2, and he's still hasn't made a debut yet. So that's the risk, obviously. If he injures, I hope he doesn't, because I really want to see Josh Smiley. I've got him in a few keeper leagues and drafts and stuff. 300 and I think is it 9K or 11K? I'm just popping up here. 322. So a little bit elevated.
You'd be going a Gross or a Cleary if you could get to him over someone like that.
Well, Gross is Gross 1K cheaper?
Yeah, I think he's more talking about the red. He wants the red dot
for okay.
For Dacos. So look, I'm not in favour of it, but if you're really like you don't have captain options, then he's probably the one to do it. But that's not how I play.
Yeah. Andrew Griffiths is saying here Smiley had 10 touches last week as well. So I'd imagine that was just from limited game time as well, but they're clearly going to build his time up there. We'll do a bit of rapid fire here. We've got about 4 minutes to go, so we'll get through a few of these last minute questions here. Fast break frenzy have to start 2 out of Lawler, Lindsay and Davidson. I'll take this one. I'd be going Lindsay and Davidson because I am slightly worried that Lawler could be the sub looking at their bench. It's pretty strong. In terms, well, I know obviously Richmond sort of aren't as good as some of the other sides, but in terms of their bench, they've got Brown, Samson, Ryan, Lawler, McIntosh, and Banks. You'd think maybe Ryan could be the sub, but I don't know if they're going to put a ruck as a sub. So just saying Lawler come back from Ipsaunus, maybe they manage him and make him sub. I hope not, because I've got him, so I wanted to make more cash, but just a flag. Camporelli to El Hawley, or is this too risky as he's maybe a sub, says Oliver. So, Taezer, what are your thoughts about Campo to El Hawley? We said
as long as you can edit the trade. So have someone in your back pocket who you could pivot to if Hawley's name sub, maybe Gross or someone like that.
Yeah, I don't know if he deliberately did it or accidentally or if it was autocorrect, but he says El Hawaii. So that was quite good. So I like that one there. Byron Foster, hey boys, hope all is well. Thank you, mate. Would you guys like Anderson, Walsh, or Newcomb? Tim, what are your thoughts on Anderson, Walsh, or Newcomb? Who would you go?
Anderson, Walsh, Newcomb. Yeah, that's actually a bit tough. I mean, I'm not going near Newcomb, but that's probably more to do with past history. I was one of those coaches that got really badly burnt by him last year. And look, I'm also just worried about how that, there's such a team-focused team, Hawthorn. I just don't know that you're going to be seeing someone rack up those consistently big numbers. I mean, we even saw Will Day really struggle with it, So Walsh and who was the other one? Sorry?
Anderson.
Oh, look, I
like Walsh. I like Walsh. He's unique. And is this, Tim, I know we're still a few weeks away, but is this maybe a point where we could start looking at maybe mid-season buys and separating?
Yeah.
Like Walsh has got around 12 and Anderson's got 14.
I noticed it's one of the things that I genuinely looked at my mid-season buys to start having a look at how my team was shaping up. I mean, I've kind of done it a couple of times in the past, but not really taking it that seriously, more for just a look. But yeah, I think we are starting to think about those mid-season buys and how we're all shaping up.
Yeah, and you get the sugar hit as well if you get Anderson this week. He's got Richmond, but then he does have Sydney, Brisbane after that, so not great, but don't mind Noah Anderson there. But I do like Walsh if round 12 works for you. I think he's hitting some really good form now and taking those marks. And if he can get those marks and tackles, we could see him go on a bit of a run here and put up some good scores. So,
just have a glance at what other like primos that are on that same buy, because quite a few teams are kind of stacked in that round 12. So, just have a look what other primos and if you're trading into them is going to cause you issues in 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Ben Hayes, any live streams, Bales? Probably not this week, mate, unfortunately. I've got the Crows game tomorrow. Don't get back till late. And tonight, we've just seen here, like I had to duck away just quickly. So I don't think I could sit down for 3 hours, unfortunately, without having to get up a few times. So probably not this week. I'll get better.
Another visual that we didn't need.
Easter Monday.
Maybe Easter. Oh no, I'm working, so so can't do that, unfortunately, Taezer for you. But not this week, but maybe we'll look at doing it next week. There, we'll go 2 more questions to wrap up here. Jesse Murray, Horn Francis, Rankin, Petrarca, or Sam Darcy for a pod to trade in. Tim, what do you reckon?
I'm hot on the Petrarca trade. Like I think Melbourne have been playing way below their best. Not that their best is that great. I also think Petrarca has been playing way below his best. I think he's still priced at around about that 90. And, I think he's consistently shown he can be a 105 guy. I think Goodwin's going to be more inclined to have him playing midfield just because of how they're positioned and his need to keep his job. So I just think he offers the most amount of upside. And he's a player that, basically I just couldn't walk past Dacos this week. I could get him. I just wanted to bring him in and not miss him. But Petrarca is probably my number one trading target for next week.
Yeah, I'd agree. I wouldn't be touching Rankin this week. Darcy's been great, and he's one of the best players in the comp, if not the best at the moment. But I just don't know. I think there could be a lower score coming at some point. Don't hate as a pod, though. Horn France you could look at, particularly if Rosie's playing at half-back. But I think Petrarca's the more unique and got the run, so I'd be going for him out of those.
Just on Rosie for a sec, right? I kind of feel this was like one out of the pan or whatever the bloody term is. And we might see it again in the future, but I'm not sure that do you think Rosie's made like a permanent move to the half-back, or this is where we're going to mainly see him playing now? Or do you think it was more to do with the tag that was coming last week and then need to kind of shake things up?
I think this could be a permanent thing. I think Louis flagged on the pod podder in the week that said that it was more, from what he's heard, it was more Josh Carr's call to, or maybe someone said it around the game or whatever, that Josh Carr's call to put him halfback. Yeah, he was Connor Rosie's coach at North Adelaide when they won a Sanford Premiership, and Connor Rosie played off halfback there as well. So it seems like this is a Josh Carr call moving forward, and they've already got plenty of midfield depth as well. I feel like this could be a pretty permanent thing. And if he gets taken in the defence, he'd go in the midfield.
Yeah, I've actually heard an interview with Josh Carr, pardon me, before talking about the balance of their midfield and not liking it when Horn Francis, Butters, and Rosie are all around the ball at the same time because they all just hunt the ball. So making this move allows probably better team structure because then they can get Drew and Wines in the guts, and it probably even opens up a little bit more mid-time for someone like Mead. So I think they're going to keep it, especially while it worked. Like, he looked phenomenal. He took intercept marks. He helped move the ball from him, and that had been a bit of a problem, getting the ball out of D50. So I think they'll keep it unless it's not working or unless someone goes down the midfield.
So last follow-up question then. So how do you think this is going to impact his scoring? Do you think it's going to largely remain the same? Do you think he's going to score more, or do you think he's going to score less?
One game sample size, it probably improved it.
Yeah, I dare say that it's probably going to stay around the same, probably 105 average or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like he may have the ability to take a lot more of these marks. Obviously, the games where he went 140, 150 in the mids, he was getting marks and tackles. I don't know if the tackles necessarily going to be there. So maybe some of those 140s, 150s are probably off the table. But I think a few more of these 120s, 130s could be a bit more frequent if he's taking these marks as well. He only had one kick in. I wouldn't be shocked if he had a few more kick-ins being the captain. So, I think the remain pretty much the same, I think. But, I think he'll go pretty well.
It's really hard to know. Like, you just got to monitor it for a week or two. Yeah. He had Hawthorn's usually a tough matchup, and he did really well, but he also kicked 2 goals. He's not going to kick 2 goals every game.
But that 126 could have been bigger because he went off for like last 5 minutes with cramp. So if it wasn't for that, he could have actually racked up a few more. So probably offsets the goals, but those goals are pretty good. So maybe that's a thing that he might keep doing. So something definitely to watch. Just last couple, just whiz through here. So Henry said, would you be trading into trainer this week or is it too late? It's definitely too late, Henry. I would not be looking at training out. Connor says, got to use the VC this game to be able to loop TDK, Cherry, or Caleb Daniel. Taezer, where would you go here? I think the ceiling's probably with Cherry, right? If you're not going to probably use it, but obviously it's risky. But if it's just a VC.
Yeah, ceilings with Cherry. Cherry at his best against TDK it could go 140, but he just doesn't look anywhere near his best. Maybe Caleb Daniel. Like if this was draft, I'd probably go Caleb Daniel because he's actually the one most likely to hit a good score. But no confidence in any of those three, unfortunately. Just flip a 3-sided coin.
Yeah, exactly. I might back in Big X. I've got a feeling he's going to turn up today, but we'll see. And then final one here from Harley Reid, and we'll wrap up. Play Gross or Lindsay on field, and then Nick Martin or Nasiah. I think I'd be going fielding Lindsay and then going Nick Martin. Would you agree, Taze, with that one?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. And then Steve-O said thoughts on Tom Green. Yep, like him as an option, so wouldn't mind bringing him in. But that'll wrap us up there. We've got just over 10 minutes before the game starts, so get your teams all sorted and everything like that. So, Taezer, just for people that missed it before, what are your trades this week and your captain for the week?
I'm going Corey Warner down to Caden Cleary, and that frees up cash to move Nathan O'Driscoll up to Nick Martin, and I'm going to put the captain straight on him.
Yeah, because of not being able to loop for the people that missed it before as well. Tim, what are you doing with your trades and your VC captain?
Yeah, so it was SDK to Dacos and Davidson to Cleary, and then VC I had on Dacos, and then the C at the moment I've got on Andrew Brayshaw.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. And my trades at the moment, I'm going Fraser down to Tom Gross, and then going Sam Wicks up to Chris Petrarca. Have doubled with getting out Davidson and getting in Cleary over Gross, but we'll see if I stick with that or not. And then VC for me, I'm waiting to see if Hasey's a red dot, and if he is, I'll go VC Brayshaw into McRae. If not, it'll be just straight captain on Brayshaw, and I just won't have a VC or a look at anyone like that, but that's fine anyway. So that is what we're doing here. But Taezer, mate, thank you very much for jumping on with us once again, mate. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Where can the people find you across the socials?
They can find me at Taezer87, and yeah, that's about it.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate. Short, sharp. Love it. Fantastic. Guesty, mate, where can the people find you?
Oh, Tim Guest AU. I think they all know by now.
Yep, we'll still plug it anyway. And you can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. We'll be back on Monday, so it won't be Sunday. It'll be Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, I believe, straight after the Hawthorn and Geelong game. Actually, 6:30 Eastern, sorry. But we'll be having Jep jumping on with us, so really, really good to be chatting to Jep. First time this season. Obviously, he was sick the other week, so it'll be good to chat to him and wrap up the Easter round. But have a good Easter, everyone. Enjoy some chocolates. Enjoy the footy. Hope your fantasy teams go and smash out a big score. And we'll catch you guys on Monday for the round recap. So thanks, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.